Want to see the world from a totally different perspective?
Ready for provocative conversation,
Intriguing stories?
and inspiration?
Then don't touch that dial. Welcome to Talk with Francesca.
She'll give you something to talk about all week long.
Now, here's Francesca.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk with Francesca. I'm Francesca, and I am thrilled you are listening this evening. A little housekeeping, though, before we get started. First, if you want to reach me, you can email me anytime at info@talkwithfrancesca.com. And if you miss part of the show, you can always hop on over to my iTunes page, where you can also listen to hundreds of other episodes as well of Talk with Francesca. And if you want to know what else is going on, including upcoming shows, giveaways, etc., visit my website, talkwithfrancesca.com. This show is sponsored by Terramia Ristorante in the North End, when you will only accept the absolute best in Italian food, great service, and an intimate setting. Terramia is your go-to spot. I know, because it also happens to be my favorite. And there's parking. So don't forget to tell them that I sent you. You will absolutely love it. And the other restaurant in the North End that I also highly recommend is Antico Forno. So both of them are definitely winners. So venture out this weekend and have some fun. All right. Have you ever felt a need to express your feelings and then suddenly you feel yourself giving away your power, like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there. I don't know if I want to say what I really want to say. And so you don't. Are you tired of saying yes when you really want to say no? You want to be strong at the same time you feel intimidated with the idea? I know what that's about. Sometimes you feel like, I know what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it, and then you start to like kind of get weak at the knees. Well, if you want healthier relationships and a life filled with authenticity, then you're going to want to stay tuned to find out how to conquer this sense of, well, I don't know, insecurity and maybe a lack of self-worth. You might want to also stay tuned if you want to negotiate power struggles successfully and stop playing so small. So with us tonight is Christian de la Huerta. He has over 30 years of experience, and he is a sought-after transformation coach. He also has had a TED Talk. He's written a book, Awakening the Soul, How to Live Heroically and Set Yourself Free. And I just got the book yesterday, so I haven't had the fun of reading it, but I'm really excited to dig right in. So welcome, Christian. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my words on Talk with Francesca.
Thank you so much for having me, Francesca. I'm honored to be on your show, and you're making me hungry for Italian food.
Well, I'm telling you, it is the best of the best. But anyway, so first I want to know a little bit about your background. Tell our listeners.
Well, I'm an immigrant. I have an immigrant story. I came over from Cuba with my family when I was 10. Didn't speak a word of English, and painfully shy. I can't tell you how shy I was as a teenager. I was okay one-on-one, but if you added a third human, I clammed up to the degree that I had looking back on it, I didn't do this consciously, but looking back on it, I sabotaged my grade point average in high school. I had 4.0 except for 1B, which was enough to make sure that I wouldn't have to give the valedictorian speech. There's no way that I would have been up for doing that. And these days, I speak all over the world. I speak to thousands of people. So
we know you overcame that one. Right.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. That the teachings that I write about in this book work, right? They really help us overcome our own self-imposed and fears and obstacles, and get to the places that we want, to the kind of relationships that we long to have, and the kind of life that we want.
So I think all of us, myself included, to one degree or another, feel we have an ambivalent relationship to power. And I know, that the name of your book here is Awakening the Soul of Power. So why do we sometimes give it away? And I guess part B of that question would be, what are we so afraid of? Because even when you're talking about giving that valedictorian speech, you were really giving your power away, so you were afraid of something. Right?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, I think you nailed it. It's we have that ambivalent relationship to power. We want it, but we're afraid of it. And no wonder, right? Because we've been conditioned to believe that power is bad, that power corrupts, that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And what they forgot to tell us is that quote was intended originally was speaking only about political power, not the interpersonal power that you and I are talking about. Right. And then add to that the fact that we have witnessed countless abuses of power. So what good-hearted person wants to be part of that? And then add to the mix, the fact that we've been conditioned to also be afraid of the emotions. So we fear confrontation. We avoid conflict like the plague. So put all of that into the mix, and no wonder we stuff ourselves. We say yes, like you were talking about, instead of like really speaking our truth. And that's not a good way to live, right? It's frustrating, and that frustration then starts building up in us until we react, right? All those times that we suppressed ourselves and suppressed our truth and what we really wanted to say. Mm-hmm. After we do that too long, then we start walking around like volcanoes, like raging volcanoes waiting to explode, and then the next unfortunate one comes by and says something the wrong way, and boom.
Of course, and that is actually the cost of people selling out their power, isn't it?
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Another one is another cost that we pay is it's a life. What we're risking is a life of soul-devouring mediocrity. Because if we keep putting ourselves into smaller little boxes because we're afraid of rejection, or because we're what we're selling for, it's morsels of pseudo love for illusion of security, because there is nothing secure in life, and this false sense of acceptance. So not worth it.
Right. Well, that's right. And I think that actually we're accepted more anyway if we are more authentic. And I think I think people have a sense of, I know when someone's not being real. I mean, not always. I mean, I suppose the best of the best can fool anybody. But, when someone isn't being real, you feel it. It's just it's a funny feeling. It's just like, it doesn't feel right.
You're absolutely right. We have like a built-in BS radar. We can smell it.
Yeah.
You can sense it.
Right.
And, and I think you're absolutely right. What we're really longing for, all of us, is authenticity. Mm-hmm. And maybe the people in our lives won't immediately align with whatever we're saying or the ways that we're being, when we're being our truth, but eventually the world aligns to the truth.
Right. But sometimes I think that, myself included, we can think that we're being really honest and authentic, but in reality, we could be sort of projecting. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so that we're really not. It was an issue inside of us rather than an issue instead of an issue with the other person.
Well, that's a huge conversation about projection, and it's if we really understood how projection works, we would have a much more peaceful world and much more honest world, and our relationships would work so much better.
Interesting conversation very recently with someone who is a friend, and bless her heart, love her, and she has to be busy all the time. She wants to fill her time literally 24/7. And then what happens is she becomes overwhelmed with everybody. Everybody is like all of a sudden needing her so much, right? She's feeling overwhelmed with everybody's quote unquote neediness. And it's interesting because from my perspective, it's like, well, why do you think everyone you interact with is pulling at you? Then why is that? So then my question becomes, and then so when I thought about it, and I was a little uncomfortable actually saying it, but I did say anyway, did it ever occur to you that actually you are the one who is needy? You are the one having the issue because you have such a need to constantly fill your time rather than be alone with yourself. So what happens is then you're so busy filling your time and the conversation didn't go well, by the way. And I'll just throw that out there. So, but so what I'm saying is that, but I found it very interesting. I was like, well, gee, this one, you're saying this one is pulling at you when it's needy, and this one is pulling at you when it's needy, and this one is pulling at you when it's needy. And and you're feeling guilty that you can't fulfill all these people's needs. And did it ever occur to you that perhaps maybe you need to stop being so, you're pulling everybody in, and it's actually you are the one that I'm observing as the needy one, because you need everyone to be there. So, but that blew up. That blew up. So
I think that was a very astute observation on your part.
Well, I could be wrong, though. I mean, I could be, but I did.
Maybe.
And you know what? In fairness to this person, I will say this much: that some of the people that she's interacting with, they do have. Of course, we all have our needs. You know, we could all be needy, and at different times in our lives, we can be more needy than other times. But I just found the whole thing very interesting. That I just found it really remarkable. I said, this is interesting here, because what about you who has to be with someone 24/7? And I'm finding, oftentimes I'm saying, you know what? No, I can't. I'm busy. I can't. I've got this going on, that going on. And then I started feeling a little bit like, geez, I feel like I'm saying no all the time. And I started feeling like I needed to be there, or I was not being a good friend. But anyway, I'm going off on sort of a tangent. But what I'm saying is that I think it's really important to be authentic. But usually, if there's some kind of a conflict or sort of a difference of an opinion, obviously this person is very attached to their thought process and where they're coming from, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and the important question to ask ourselves is like, who is the common denominator? Who is the one constant in every one of those interactions and every one of those relationships? So what's up with that, right? Why do we keep attracting people who are needy or selfish or betraying or whatever it is, right? Why is that? Why do I keep getting involved in those type of relationships? So, Carl Jung, the psychologist, talked about how we attract people into our lives and we create situations so that we can see blind spots that are unhealed areas in us. And, because a projection is by definition, blind spots. Think about when we go to a movie, we see the screen out in front of us, but the origin, the source of it is really behind us. So it's a pretty safe bet that as we look at our relationships, if it's there, it's here. And the more that we start seeing patterns with exhibiting a certain type of behavior, it's a pretty safe bet that it's also happening here.
So we're really talking about unconscious and actually self-sabotaging, right? Relationships. Yeah.
So let me tell you an example from.
Well, wait, before you do, we want to hear from our sponsors, because I can tell we're going to get off onto a tangent because we have a lot to talk about. So I want to give our great sponsors their time. So listeners, stay with us here. We've got lots more interesting conversation coming up. Stay with us. This is Life, don't miss it. More Talk with Francesca coming right up on 95.9 WATD.
If you've been meaning to get healthy, this is the time to do it. At CrossFit South Shore, grit leads to growth, and the effort you give equals the results you receive. CrossFit South Shore offers classes of 10 people or fewer, along with individual coaching plans. CrossFit South Shore can guide you through nutrition plans, strength training, interval training, and accountability. Their monthly plans let you schedule half-hour classes for as little as $35 and one-hour sessions for $60. Once CrossFit South Shore assesses your fitness, they build strength and aerobic fitness in the areas where you need it most. Once you learn the CrossFit pillars of fitness, your life can be transformed.
Located in Boston's North End holds one of our best-kept secrets, Antico Forno, ranked number 9 of the top 10 Italian restaurants around the world within the category of being one of the most authentic. With a welcoming family feel, it's hard to argue the experience you have when enjoying dinner at Antico Forno. Best known for their brick oven pizza, their world-class traditional cuisine does not fall far behind. Come enjoy dinner at Antico Forno and feel like part of the family. Open daily from 11:30 a.m. until 10 p.m. Call us today at 617-723-6733 or visit us at anticofornoboston.com.
Your pets are family. Take your dog to the Dog's Den in Pembroke. Your furry friend will go from smelling crummy to yummy because Leah at the Dog's Den really cares. Whatever your pet's needs are, from dematting to extra scissoring, the Dog's Den in Pembroke has your furry friends covered. So call the Dog's Den today at 781-826-7008 or visit thedogsdengrooming.com.
You're listening to Talk with Francesca. I'm Francesca Luca. The talk continues on 95.9 WATD. All right, we are back. Awakening the Soul of Power, How to Live Heroically and Set Yourself Free. That is the name of the book that the author, Christian de la Huerta, is the author of that book, and we are discussing with him our giving away our power and how to keep our power. So welcome back, Christian.
Thank you so much, Francesca. Enjoying the conversation.
So we have these unconscious, that's what we were talking about prior to the break, is that we have these unconscious beliefs, right? That I think I read somewhere one time that 95% of our unconscious mind is what controls us, which is really scary, especially if you don't come from a good place, right? So, yeah. But our unconscious mind can also can really sabotage relationships, and is a common theme for so many. So how can we understand, and I guess really more important is how can we navigate that so that we can keep our power?
Yeah, great question. So the first step is realizing that there are different types of power, right? So that we can resolve that ambivalent relationship that we have with it. Excuse me. So because so we read about how there's worldly power, the way that the world thinks about power. So we tend to think of people with money or famous people or people who are high up with some kind of hierarchy, whether it's a corporate ladder or a religious hierarchy. Those are the kind of people that we tend to think have power. Mm-hmm. But the thing about all those expressions of power is that they're outside of us. They're external to us. So because of that, they're fickle, right? They could be here today, gone tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like many people are discovering through the COVID experience that so much of their identity may have been connected to a job or a company that they work for, and boom, suddenly it was gone. Whereas the other kind of power that I'm talking about, call it spiritual power, call it soulful power, it's inside each one of us. Mm-hmm. Nobody can give it to us. Nobody can take it away. We are the only ones who can give it away. And how sadly and how cheaply we give it away so easily. Mm-hmm. Another way to look at it, the worldly power tends to have an agenda. So it's always trying to grab something for itself. It's kind of self-serving. Whereas soulful power is more about service. It's more about making a difference in the world. And one is self-aggrandizing, so it kind of blows itself up to seem bigger than it is. The other one is humble. So, I think of Gandhi or Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings and their simple monastic robes and their sandal feet. You would never know how much power they hold until it's necessary. Gandhi brought the British Empire to its knees when it was at its highest point in terms of global reach without ever landing a punch or shooting a gun. Talk about power. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes. So talk a little bit more about that, about how, well, go ahead. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, so the point being that we can find a way of expressing our own power, of transforming our own relationship to power so that that is a match for us, so that we no longer have to give it away. And the stronger that, it's one thing that we can't get around, which is what you and I are both talking about, even going back to the example of your friend. Why is she doing that? What is she trying to run away from? Or what is she trying to prove by just spreading herself so thin and having no time for herself? Mm-hmm. Right? So what are the subconscious drivers? And so the more that we get in touch with that, and the stronger of a sense of self that we have, then the less threatened that we are by anybody else, and the less dependent that we are on what anybody thinks about us, or what they think we should do, or we should be with, or what we should do with our lives, or the way we should wear our hair. Mm-hmm. it all becomes more self-referent, right? And that is also empowering.
Right. You know, you mentioned during COVID, you know, that we identify with our jobs or, you know, whatever it is that we're used to doing. I know that many years ago, I had worked in a dating service, and then when it sold, I started my own. So between that time, so there was 15 years in total that I was involved in that business, and then I sold the business, and I ended up getting married. Well, you know, this should have been this incredibly happy time in my life, and although it was, I also felt like this great depression. I had sold my home. I had sold my business. I had moved out of state. I had gotten married. But I did not know how to live without that business. That business was who I was. You know, you know, I had 3 different locations, and I had a lot of people working for me, and you know, it was always an interesting conversation, because in those days there was no online dating, and you know, people were always curious about, you own a dating service, what's that like, you know? And so it was really, and I was very confident in that business because I had obviously been in it a long time. So when I gave all that up, I was really depressed. I mean, I was really depressed. I remember having a massage, and I was just on the table, and I was miserable. And I was telling the massage therapist, I just got married, I'm miserable, you know. And she said something about, you know, but you did give something up. So even though it was something that you want, and I was ready. I was ready to give that up. I had done it for a long time. I was sick of it. I didn't need to do it anymore. I was bored. But you know, it was who I was. And then I had no idea what to do with myself. And meanwhile, my husband was getting ready to sell his business. So he was very, very, very busy. So his cup was very full. Mine was very empty. And I started doing tons and tons and tons of yoga. And then that ended up putting me into, I ended up starting my own yoga studio, and it was so much more rewarding because I felt like a lot more people were having success with yoga than with dating. But nonetheless, so what I'm saying is, so I kind of veered off there for a second, but that was my whole identity. And so with this whole COVID thing, I think there are a lot of people that are just, they're sort of running on sort of this automatic pilot for so long, and all of a sudden all these things are taken from us. And so, and this time more than ever, we need to be remaining healthy, calm, and centered. I mean, it's obviously very challenging, and it is critical also to our immune system. So can you suggest how people can really navigate this whole business?
Yeah. You know, the thing that I would have, and by the way, I was reading up on you, and so I knew about the dating agency and the yoga therapy, and that you taught yoga at a addictions facility, and that you're a mediator. So I was really fascinated, and now
thank you.
Family systems work that you're doing, and you've done quite a bit and accomplished a lot.
Yeah, I've quieted down though over the years. I'm getting older now.
The only thing that I would adjust in the way that you said that is that it wasn't who you were, right? It was who you thought you were. Who we are is so much greater than any aspect of our life, than any and all circumstances of our life. We're so much greater than our past, than our histories, than our family histories, that the sum total of our experiences and our mistakes and our DNA and our addictive tendencies, we are so much greater than all of that. Yet we allow our identity to become tied to tiny parts of who we are. Right, and then so then that's a way to reframe that. So for people who are having to transition, sometimes I'm not minimizing, the difficulty or the challenging part of that transition, either in your case or their case. But ultimately, it's a good thing, right? So reframe it instead of feeling done to and victimized by life and by COVID. It's like reframe it and look at it as a positive. Right, it's an opportunity for us to go deeper into who we are and really discover who we are. Because again, you were not your dating agency. This is what you did for so many years. But you, as you have proven since then, you are so much greater than that, and all of that.
Yeah, there's nothing about transition that is easy. But I think it can be if we sort of allow ourselves to go with the flow. But it's not that human tendency. I guess our ego gets in the way, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I mean, it's just like,
and that's why this book is part of a series of 3 books, and that's why the title of the series is Calling All Heroes. Because living life consciously, intentionally, like looking at ourselves and asking the hard questions, why do we do the things we do, and looking at our patterns and asking ourselves, what was my role in it? Why do I keep attracting this kind of relationship? That's hard. Reacting, splattering somebody against the wall because they said something that was hurtful. Anybody can do that. Taking a moment and pausing and going, ouch, that hurt, and choosing how I want to be in response to that, that's nothing short of heroic.
We do need to take another short break, but when we come back, because we haven't really touched on it, and obviously the name of your book, Awakening the Soul of Power, I want to know what soulful power really means, and hopefully you can give us some examples of it. So listeners, stay with us here. More to come. This is Talk with Francesca. I'm Francesca Luca. We'll talk more in just a bit on 95.9 WATD.
Are you tired of hating your ex, resenting your mother, beating yourself up because you're disappointed in your life? It's time to have some peace and be happy again. Resentments are bad for your health, and they keep you stuck and unable to create the life you want. Mary Hayes Greco is a life coach who can help you move forward into your best life. You'll swiftly be able to calm your heart, awaken your power and your intuition. Learn more at forgivenesstraining.com and book your first appointment today. You'll be glad you did.
Tides is beachside dining at its best, all year round. Located at the end of the Nahant Causeway, directly on Nahant Beach, the ocean views from the dining room in the pub can't be beat. Tides specializes in casual dining with food that's delicious, not pretentious. On a warm day, enjoy a frosty pint at their bar or their sun-drenched deck on Nahant Beach. Or enjoy an incredible meal in their dining room anytime. Tides guarantees you great atmosphere with superior service. The menu at Tides is full of fresh, high-quality seafood, prime rib, chicken, pasta, and pizza that everyone will love. Check out the drink menu at Tides for fun cocktails, 30 ice-cold beers on tap, and their well-rounded wine list with state-of-the-art tap wines. Tides is unbeatable anytime, summer or winter, lunch or dinner, rain or shine. Visit tidesnahant.com.
Buying a home can be confusing and overwhelming. I know because I've been there. But I hired Kevin Tan, whose goal is to make purchasing your home simple and easy with proactive communication and accessibility throughout the entire process. From contract to closing, Kevin can help you with every aspect of the real estate transaction. Kevin lives and knows the South Shore real estate market, which makes him the perfect choice. Contact him today at 617-763-8551. That's 617-763-8551. Or online at weclosetheloan.com/Kevin-Tan. You'll be so glad that you did.
This is life, don't miss it.
I'm Francesca Luca, and you're listening to Talk with Francesca on 95.9 WATD. All right, we are back. So, Gloria Estefan says, a balm for the soul of anyone searching for truth and answers to life's difficult questions. That's her review on the book that we're discussing, Awakening the Soul of Power, How to Live Heroically and Set Yourself Free, by Christian de la Huerta, who is my guest this evening, and a very interesting one at that. Welcome back, Christian.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
And thanks for reading the Gloria Estefan quote.
Oh, happy to. So, before the break, I asked you, what does soulful power really mean? Well, we've kind of covered it a little bit, but let's just give us some examples of what that really means.
All right. So, how the most of us have this need to be right, and we get sucked into arguments about being right. It's the human condition. And the thing is that even when we are right, there's this part of us, the ego part of us, that just has the need to be right. And like the Course of Miracles says, would you rather be right or happy? So when we override the ego's tendency to be right, or its defensive nature, because it takes everything personally, right? And so every action or behavior or what other people say, our ego takes it personally as a direct attack. So when we override that need to be right, or that tendency to react or defend or to hurt them back, that's soulful power. It doesn't mean that we're wimping out. It means that we're choosing the higher road. And that doesn't mean that we're stuffing our emotions at all, right? We get to use all of our emotions, and we get to have them all, including anger. We just don't have to be had by the emotions, right? We get to call the shots. And have our emotions rather than be had by them, like I was talking about. Being who we are, wherever we are, right? That's another way that we're soulfully powered, and it's just very freeing. Because a lot of us wear these different masks. So we're this way at work, we're this other way with our lovers or our spouses, we're this other way with our parents, this other way with our kids, this other way with our friends, and it's exhausting. We exhaust ourselves in the process. Like, how much easier just to get to be who we are, wherever we are.
It's chapter 6. Want to rethink that strategy? That's what you must be talking about, right?
Yeah. It's exhausting because then we got to remember how we were in this situation and what we said and what we withheld from the other one. It just occupies so much of our mental real estate. And of course, it doesn't mean we're stupid. It doesn't mean that we have to go talking about every deep, intimate aspect of our lives with anybody. Of course not. We retain choice about that. But we get to be consistently ourselves. Vulnerability is another one.
Wait. Back up.
Sorry,
So I was going to say, so if you're okay, hold on. Let me think about how I want to ask you this. So if you don't express your anger, which is, I understand, never really works super well, how do you have those emotions without expressing them?
Well, because we get to express them in a different way, right? Because the emotions are not good, they're not bad. Emotions are energy. What used to be spiritual teaching, that everything is energy, now we know from quantum physics that it's true. That includes the body, that includes the emotions. Everything is energy. Energy cannot be destroyed, also from physics. So whenever we find ourselves stuffing our emotions or saying yes when inside we're seething with a big fat no, that just doesn't go away. Right? That sticks to the inside of the body, and we carry that stuff around, and then it starts dripping out inappropriately, or it comes out in physical symptoms, ulcers, heart attacks.
Absolutely. Yep.
So suppressing it is not an effective strategy. So, and at the same time, we don't want to go around like little 2-year-olds throwing a tizzy fit and just dumping our emotions irresponsibly.
Right.
So the practice is learning to communicate what's going on with us in a way that's both courageous and compassionate, and in a way that is graceful, which means that the other person can hear us. So that's basic communications 101. Whenever we point the finger, you did this, or you always do that, forget it. Like, end of conversation. That other ego that doesn't yet know how the ego works, so it's just reacting and defending. That's all it can do.
How about the poor me, too? That one, the victim.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Right.
That's the biggest one.
Oh my
right.
gosh.
So we learn how to communicate. For example, like, so and so, when you do this, I feel.
Of course, yeah.
Right. That changes everything. It changes the energy of it. The other person doesn't necessarily feel attacked. Right. Because I'm owning my emotions. I'm owning my experience. Maybe you and I have the same friend, and they always show up late, and I get so upset because they show up late for every time we have lunch. Whereas you are like, great, I have an extra 20 minutes to go online or catch up with my email or check out the news, right? So why do I get so upset because they show up late? What's going on with that?
Yeah. No, my best friend's always late. I love her. She's always late. This is who she is, right? Actually, a couple of my friends are always late. So what I always do, it's really simple. If we're meeting, like say we're meeting for coffee at 10 o'clock in the morning, right? So I just say, well, let's meet at 10:30, or make it like, make it later, maybe the other way around. Okay. So if we're meeting at 10, I say, why don't we meet at 9:30? And so, but then I don't show up till 10. And then if I show up late, it's like, oh my gosh, you're early. What's going on with this, right? So that's just sort of, but even better, right? I'd rather just like plan on that so that, I just assuming that I'm showing up someplace a half an hour beforehand. Not saying that the person shouldn't be responsible. I mean, there's something a little bit. I don't know. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's so disrespectful." I don't know if I call it disrespectful. I think people just have habits, and it's if it was really an issue, I think that if it were really an issue for me or for you or for anyone, and it just expressed honestly, like, I really have an issue with you being late. I mean, I think if the way you say it, I bet you that person would make an attempt to be on time.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's kind of the way, but I mean, I guess I don't care because I don't mind my own company.
Exactly. So that's why, in your case, you don't take it personally. But say using that example, and I don't take it personally either. I love my own company, and I'd love to have an extra 20 minutes to do whatever, people watch or whatever. But let's say that I take it personally, and let's say that I go into this huff. It's like I knew it. I knew they were going to be late. I knew that they're so irresponsible. They're selfish. They're valuing their time more than they're valuing mine. And then then the person arrives, and because we hate confrontation, we don't say anything. But then it starts dripping out of the side of our mouth, and like in a sarcastic comment or with a hook.
Yeah.
Right. Or then we end up saying that's it, never having lunch with them again. And then what happens is we start having lunch with somebody else, and they start showing up late. So going back to that Carl Jung thing, which is we attract people in situations so that we can see our unhealed areas. So because say that I do my work, all right, I don't have to be upset about their being late. There's other options for me to respond and to feel about their being late. What's going on here? What am I feeling? Right? Let me get clear about it. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling disrespected. I'm feeling unseen, because if I zoom out a little bit more, it's not just when they show up late. It's when anybody shows up late. And in fact, it's when somebody cuts me off in conversation, when somebody cuts me off in traffic, the same feeling. So what is that? Right? I'm feeling disrespected. I'm feeling unseen. I'm feeling not valued. I'm feeling not worthy. And if I get really honest, those feelings are way older than the person showing up late for lunch. So it's my stuff. And so if we're able to do that with our relationships, then the people who get our goat become our greatest teachers.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my dog, I think that's why they call their dogs their best friend.
Yeah.
And Liz, who is,
I can say, well, oh wow, I still have this part of me that doesn't feel seen, that doesn't feel respected, that doesn't feel worthy, that doesn't feel loved. And so now I'm aware of it. Now it's no longer within subconscious. So now I can do whatever healing I need to do about it. I can go to therapy or breath work or whatever, so that, because it's ultimately a misunderstanding, right? So
the breath, right? The breath. I live for the breath, right? Just take a deep breath. How's my puppy doing back there?
Charlie is having fun. As long as he can hear Mama, then he's okay.
I had to bring my dog in because dog daycare is they're closed for 3 days and nights because there was someone who was exposed to COVID. So I brought him in, and he was whining back there. So it was funny. It just made me think of our best friend, our dog, right? They just are. They don't give us any problems, whatever, except for getting me up at 5:30 in the morning. Mama, give me my food. Anyway, all right, let's talk a little bit about women's.
Which is great, by the way, before you move on from the dog, which is great, right? Because to have that unconditional love.
Oh, yeah.
But if we want to be stretched, if we want to grow, then the little dog is not going to do that, right? Or the friend who always sides with us, and how could that SOB do that to you, or that how could she betray you in that way? Right? They're always side with us, so we don't get to grow.
I don't know if I might push back a little bit on that. I think actually dogs teach us quite a bit.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
But I know what you're saying. Right. They're not going to, right. There's no communication, a little whining once in a while. But anyway. So let's talk about women's empowerment, because you say it's the single most important thing that needs to happen in the world. So tell us more about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, when I think about the way of the world and the situation that we find ourselves in, and all the challenges that we're facing, that sometimes just feel completely overwhelming. If I think of what is the one thing that we could do, that I could focus on, so that it's going to then impact others, that's what I land on. And it's not to idealize women or to put women up in a pedestal. Of course, women are also capable of abusing power and using it not in a healthy way.
Right.
But the world's been running so off balance for the last several thousand years.
Yeah.
And so when I think about, when women are in 50% of power in the world, we're going to have a very different relationship to hunger and poverty and social justice and how we treat the environment and to all of it. So it's about bringing balance. We don't want to go back to a matriarchal system. But this patriarchal system that we're in, that has been so incredibly oppressive to women and just completely unacceptable any longer, it's also oppressive for men.
Right. Liz, how much time do we have before a break? Because I want to ask him a big question, and I want to know if I should ask him the question before or after the break.
Well, we might as well go to break now. If that's okay,
we're going to go to break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about toxic masculinity and what you mean by that. How are men supposed to be in the 21st century? Ha, ha, ha. Okay, listeners, stay with us here. We'll be back.
This is life, don't listen.
I appreciate you hanging out with me. More talk on the way here on 95.9 WATD.
Tides is beachside dining at its best, all year round. Located at the end of the Nahant Causeway, directly on Nahant Beach, the ocean views from the dining room and the pub can't be beat. Tides specializes in casual dining with food that's delicious, not pretentious. On a warm day, enjoy a frosty pint at their bar or their sun-drenched deck on Nahant Beach. Or enjoy an incredible meal in their dining room anytime. Tides guarantees you great atmosphere with superior service. The menu at Tides is full of fresh, high-quality seafood, prime rib, chicken, pasta, and pizza that everyone will love. Check out the drink menu at Tides for fun cocktails, 30 ice-cold beers on tap, and their well-rounded wine list with state-of-the-art tap wines. Tides is unbeatable anytime, summer or winter, lunch or dinner, rain or shine. Visit tidesnahant.com.
Your pets are family. Take your dog to the Dog's Den in Pembroke. Your furry friend will go from smelling crummy to yummy, because Leah at the Dog's Den really cares. Whatever your pet's needs are, from dematting to extra scissoring, the Dog's Den in Pembroke has your furry friends covered. So call the Dog's Den today at 781-826-7008 or visit thedogsdengrooming.com.
Looking for an authentic Italian meal in an intimate setting? Then you might just want to venture out to Boston this weekend and dine at Terra Mia Ristorante, a true gem among all those rhinestones in Boston's North End. This cozy trattoria with stucco walls and beam ceiling specializes in creative interpretations of Italian classics. Like the cuisine here, the atmosphere is elegant, yet understated. Since opening in 1993, Terra Mia Ristorante has aimed to convince diners that there's always more to Italian food than just red sauce. Over the years, the innovative and beloved restaurant has done a great deal of convincing. And best of all, it's reasonably priced. The best-kept secret is worth the trip. Call 617-523-3112. That's 617-523-3112. Or visit terramiaristorante.com.
If you've been meaning to get healthy, this is the time to do it. At CrossFit South Shore, grit leads to growth, and the effort you give equals the results you receive. CrossFit South Shore offers classes of 10 people or fewer, along with individual coaching plans. CrossFit South Shore can guide you through nutrition plans, strength training, interval training, and accountability. Their monthly plans let you schedule half-hour classes for as little as $35 and one-hour sessions for $60. Once CrossFit South Shore assesses your fitness, they build strength and aerobic fitness in the areas where you need it most. Once you learn the CrossFit pillars of fitness, your life can be transformed.
This is life, don't miss it.
Now for more Talk with Francesca on 95.9 WATD. We are back and flying along. Christian, you are so interesting. I feel like there's so many more questions to ask you, yet we're on our final segment here. So, you mentioned toxic masculinity. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's the unhealthy worldly power equivalent or expression of masculinity, what it means to be a man, right? So it's power over rather than power with. And so, as I was saying before the break, the patriarchal system is also equally, maybe not equally, but it is also restraining for men. So look, for example, the rate of suicide among men is 4 times as high that of women. In this country, 70% of the suicides are committed by white men, middle-aged white men. And women outlive men by 5 years in this country and by 7 years worldwide. So the system is not working for men either. And I think that part of that is because we've got this mistaken, limiting understanding of what it means to be a man. So, for example, we have to walk around not feeling, right? Because we have labeled the emotions weakness, and we've been conditioned since we were, little boys don't cry, and you gotta like walk around with a stiff upper lip and all those ways. But like we were talking about, those emotions have to come out somewhere. So the body's going to pay a price, and our relationships are going to pay a price.
Absolutely.
So I include a chapter about how do we be men in the 21st century? Like, how do we upgrade? The
right.
masculinity software. So, for example, reimagining some of the, say, the provider role, because that's part of the problem, too, is that as women are stepping more and more into their power, a lot more women in heterosexual marriages are out-earning their spouses. So, like you went into that questioning, who am I if I'm not the dating service owner? A lot of men are going, well, who am I if I'm not the provider?
Oh, right.
So it's a limiting way of looking at ourselves. And so what I did in that chapter is redefine those call them archetypes of what it means. So there are other ways to provide, right? You can still provide as a man. You can provide a safe psychological and emotional space in which your spouse, your family can thrive, discover who they are, and live to their fullest. You can provide emotional stability and become a rock in the family structure, sharing your wisdom, your strength that comes from self-knowledge and the willingness to do the work of self-healing. You can provide unconditional love, support, frequent praise, allowing room for mistakes and imperfections so that everybody gets to be who they are. It's there is no greater gift that you can give your loved ones. Talk about providing.
Right. So if I can just interject here for a second. So men, this is interesting because, women, I think, are always looking for the man to be more sensitive, to be more understanding, to be more communicative. It's a common theme, right? It's just a guy, right? Whatever. Yet when a man is that way, I have witnessed many women feeling uncomfortable with that, as if it's too feminine, not sexy. Not just not masculine, and so I think it's tough. It's almost like the old adage, the nice guy finishes last. Of course, that's a whole nother thing, but that nice guy, that sweet guy, that caring guy, that understanding guy, that guy with empathy and compassion, he's not always rewarded with a good relationship. It doesn't always. It can be a little harder for that man to find a woman who actually can appreciate and accept that. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and I think two things are going on there. I think women have also internalized, this unhealthy way of what masculinity means.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So that's why you have so many women leaders who really mimic masculine behavior.
Right.
Even in the way they dress and how they do their hair, so they kind of masculinize themselves because that they must think that that's what a credible leader looks like and acts like. Right. So that's part of it. We've all bought into this imperfect or unhealthy way of looking at what it means to be a man. And I think also especially in the spiritual circles that you and I run in, like in the yoga world and the meditation world and the breathwork world, because men are waking up, I think some of them have gone a little bit too much towards the other end of the spectrum, and they have become too soft.
Yeah, I know.
And
I think because I get
ground,
confused.
Right? There is a way that you can be powerful, like totally in your power, and be compassionate and open-hearted.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean, though, too, that it's sort of like when they get to be too... I mean, let's face it, it's yin and yang, it's our biology. Right, and that with all the analysis in the world and understanding and knowing ourselves, there's that women want to be feminine and men want to be masculine, and when there's a little bit of a difference there, when it either goes on either a spectrum. There was a woman, Suzanne Venker. She wrote a book, and I can't remember I interviewed her quite a while ago. I think it was called The Alpha Female. Suzanne, if you're listening, I'm sorry if it's the wrong name of the book. But I know it had to do with being an alpha female, and that it was not attractive. It was not. It did not get women what they wanted, and likewise. And so this is the same with men. Sometimes men who are too feminine, it doesn't work either. So anyway, I wish we had more time. We have about 3 minutes left, so I just wanted to make sure that I gave you time. Sorry to put you in a box. Is there anything that you haven't shared? I know there's a whole lot more that we could talk about for hours, but is there anything that you'd like to share with our listening audience before we say goodnight?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you for having me as a guest. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
You and I could obviously speak for hours and just keep jumping from, from one thing to the next. Yeah. So, the main thing is, like, if I can do it, I was such an unlikely person to be writing about empowerment and about what it means to be a hero. Because, like I said, I was so painfully shy. My adolescence was one long depression with suicidal thoughts. And these days, like, no matter what happens in my life, right, no matter the circumstances, whether a relationship works out or it doesn't, a project succeeds or it fails, in quotes, I never ever question my sense of self, my sense of self-worth. So I know without a shadow of a doubt that this stuff can be healed, and that these obstacles and these fears, these self-doubts, it can all be healed and it can all be transcended, and that we can find a way to step into our power in a way that is a match for who we are, that doesn't require, for us to be things that we don't, be ways that we don't want to be, and push people down and step on them and put our knee to their neck in order for us to feel powerful. There are healthy ways that we can have clear boundaries and get really clear about what works for us and what doesn't work for us and what our preferences are and what's negotiable and what's not. Mm-hmm. And we can get to do it with an open heart.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm dying to dig into your book, Awakening the Soul of Power, How to Live Heroically and Set Yourself Free by Christian de la Huerta. And listeners, I encourage you to pick it up. Even though I haven't had a chance to read it, I can't wait to do so. So, Christian, thank you so much for being with us this evening on Talk with Francesca. It's really been a pleasure.
Same here, Francesca. I loved our conversation. I loved your energy and your vivaciousness, and I look forward to connecting again sometime.
Okay, you take care.
Yeah, blessings.
Okay. All right. We've got to wrap things up and say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. If you missed part of the show, I'm going to have it posted on iTunes in the next 24 hours. So listen to it there. And see you next week. Same time, same place. Make it a great week.